Good afternoon, I'm Jeremy Cannell. I'm representing the Nomad project. And I'd also like to give credit to my teammates, for I wouldn't be here without them also. Leela Green, Ben Coble, John Sindor, and John Kolodner. First of all, I'd like to start with the definition of the Nomad, which really defines this project on two different levels. In the literal sense, it's a roaming person moving about on a fixed circuit. But in another way, it's our goal to have passengers explore the cars during their trip. Because more so than plane travel and bus travel and things like that, you're on here for a decent amount of time, but you do have a lot extra room to move around. So we feel like this is an ideal environment to have that kind of experience. And more so, we want everyone to be able to be free to move about, whether you're in a wheelchair or anything like that. So as you see here, we have a list of kind of goals that we started out with that we wanted to end up with the final concept. And at the bottom, you'll just see a compilation of images that we looked at for inspiration for what this train can offer to the customers. Because after all, our goal, not just me, but all of our goals, was to create an experience and a train set that people were desiring to ride. So I'll start with the entry car, something that no one has ever really thought about before, and I know it's kind of like on the envelope of ideas, but like Ron said, sometimes you have the ADA compliance and rules like that, but sometimes it's more important to really think about the customer and the experience. And so it's not just good for people walking, it's good for everyone. So if you can get a wheelchair into this train just as easily as someone rolling their luggage or pushing a stroller, I think that would be absolutely incredible. So you see these extra wide doorways on this entry car, what we're calling it, and you'll see that large number icon on there. And that also allows the passengers to easily identify where they're supposed to enter on the train, because the idea is to have you able to add or reduce the number of cars, so you can add these and you won't have any problem finding where you need to be on this train. And once you get inside, you have two ADA compliant restrooms. And you also have vertical bike storage, low profile, so people will still be able to move in and out. You have a rolling kiosk screen, not a kiosk, but a screen above the bulk storage that lets you know where you are, where you will be traveling. And underneath that screen, you'll see bulk storage for things that may not fit under your chair or above you. So that's a place for people to keep things as well out of their way. And moving on to the locomotive, our design was based on two different things, observation in Bear, Delaware, and also an interview that we did with a locomotive engineer. And we basically came out with four main points that we wanted to get into. And that would be safe evacuation, restrooms, which you wouldn't think is a big deal, but we got a lot of feedback from that. I won't go into too much more detail, but visibility and control consolidation. From the onset of the project, we were supposed to design the locomotive, passenger car, a lounge or dining car, and also a driving cab car, which is basically a mirrored version of the locomotive without the engine. Well, we decided to make it even better for the engineer, get rid of that so they don't have to travel from front to back of the train, having to get out in the meantime. You'll see in the top right is a view of the what we call a reverse drive LCD view. So instead of leaving the locomotive and going to the cramped control car, they're allowed to sit in the same engine that's controlling the whole train, and they have a view that is mounted from the lounge on the opposite end of the car. And you'll see on the left side is what we call the panic room, because they would discuss in like an imminent danger of a crash, they have to get out of that crumple zone. And with the GP38, they had the very narrow corridors on either side, and that was pretty much it. So we decided to consolidate with the information that we got with the new genset locomotive, that we're actually able to consolidate the size of the engine and electric motors and things like that to allow for more room for things like this. Moving on to the passenger car, you'll see that it is double-decker platform, but we've created three different levels here. When you enter, you're entering into the business class section, but this also allows for our wheelchair access. And we thought it was really nice to have people enter like in wheelchairs if they need to, in any car that they need to. That's what the entry car allows them to access, the lounge car, passenger cars, and they can move throughout. So they're not kind of in some obscure location throughout the passenger car. They are actually kind of in maybe the ideal location of these passenger cars. And moving through, you can see through the center is kind of a close-up view of this business class section. And these seats will rotate 55 degrees, which will allow ample room for working on a laptop or things like that. And they have their own individual storage above and lighting. And the view on the right is a view of like the first or the second floor, different types of seating arrangements for individual travelers, sets of 2, and bigger or even larger groups can sit, however they like. And moving on to the lounge car, which really shows how we were trying to get that idea of exploring your environment and really moving out and making it a social experience. What you see when you enter the car is in the top left is what we call the cafe area. And this has coffee tables kind of built into the sofa style seats. And in the back right of that image you'll see the cafe, and that's where you can order light drinks and things like that. But if you look at this plan here, or the elevation on the bottom, you can see that the kitchen actually is serving both the cafe and the diner, which is the next image. And that's where you can get full meal and beverages and things like that. And there's booth seating and also bar seating for things like that. And back in the first image you can see, you can go up the stairs, and that is the loft, which is almost like an observatory deck. Where it's kind of booth seating and large open windows for you to take in the environment. And at the very end of the car, where the driving cab car would be, is now open up for a lounge for wide open views and just that social experience. So to wrap things up, we just wanted this to be an ideal train for everyone. So there are 3-foot or larger doorways, 3-foot wide hallways, handicap seating in every car, ADA acceptable restrooms, an easy entry, and handicap accessibility throughout.